Okay, we are live, and I'm just waiting to see it pop up on YouTube here.
Good to see you, Doug.
Okay, I think we are in business. All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you all for being here. We are here to celebrate the launch of Living the Practice Volume 2, The Warrior of Love by Rohini Ralby. So this event is for the release of this new book. Volume 1 has already been available. And so now both of these together form a kind of unified whole. They are both available on Amazon in print, in Kindle, and as an audiobook. My name is Aaron Ralby. I am the author's son and also the narrator of the audiobooks. And I will be kind of emceeing this event tonight or today or whatever time it is, wherever you are. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the author, Rohini Ralby, who's going to speak and share with us about her new book, Living the Practice, Volume 2, The Warrior of Love.
Thank you, Aaron. Welcome all, and welcome to this book launch of my third book, Living the Practice, Volume 2, The Warrior of Love. And thank you to Bruce Sports and Bancroft Press for having published all three of my books. I pranam to my guru, Swami Muktananda. I didn't go to Baba. Baba arrived in my life. I never considered myself spiritual, wasn't interested. I was, however, looking for the bottom line of life, experientially. And although I glimpsed it when I practiced the form of Tai Chi Chuan, I had to be doing the form in order to have that experience. I was looking for the experience of that bliss, that consciousness, that unspoken understanding, that quiet and stillness, no matter what activity I was doing in my day. I wanted that experience even when I washed a toilet, was the phrase I used. And I did not want to be at the mercy of any external activity in order to have that inner experience. Baba gave me that internal experience consciously, actively, clearly. And from there, I then spent all my time until he left his body on October 2nd, 1982, working as closely with him as I could to learn and imbibe what was clearly an internal practice that required no external trappings. Baba knew what I wanted, and he gave it to me. The first thing he did when we arrived in Ganeshpuri, India, 1976, was give me a stick, tell me not to be afraid to hit anybody, and put me in charge of security. And so began the warrior's quest for inner love. Baba was the perfect guru for me. For me, he never failed. And he always directed me toward the inner accomplishment of knowing who I truly am and no longer being attached to the activity outside. I began sharing this many years ago, and have worked to articulate what Baba taught. The warrior of love faces life and all the challenges that life has with an understanding and an experience of acceptance, clarity, and love. What I've communicated through my essays, paintings, and poems is just that. The love of God truly happens when we surrender internally to God's path and follow it without rancor. We follow it as a warrior follows it, disciplined and clear in going in the direction of love. The truth is, there is no spiritual, there is no mundane. It's all God. And the warrior of love serves God at all times, in all ways, not just in a crisis, but in every moment. When that happens, no matter what may be happening externally, internally, there is love, joy, and peace. Thank you.
Thank you. And so now we're going to hear from some of Rohini's students about how living the practice has informed and transformed their lives. And first up, we have Demetrius Thomas. So, Demetrius?
Thank you, Aaron. My name is Demetrius Thomas, as Aaron mentioned, and I've been a student of Rohini since March of 2020. I started out on this journey not knowing exactly what I was looking for, but I knew I had to do something with my anger. At the time, two daughters, and since then I had a son since March 2020, and I was angry all the time. Washing the dishes and listening to my anger dialogue was my normal. And as this anger leaked over to the experience of my children, I knew something needed to happen. Before studying with Rohini directly, I read Walking Home with Baba, Rohini's first book. And one of the first things that jumped out at me in the preface was this quote: "Spiritual practice will remove your ignorance. It will help you disentangle yourself from what isn't real. It will reveal to you who you are not, and who you have always been. It will lead you to endless joy and love." What Rohini has done for me in direct teaching class and through her books is continually provide me the experience and provide me the tools to disentangle from the ideas and narrative of who I think I am, so that I can work to bring forth the love I so want in relation with my kids and in every moment of my life. Although I am a beginner and I am still learning the practice, I know I'm headed in the right direction. Rohini's books, from Walking Home with Baba to Living the Practice, Volume 1 and Volume 2, have been invaluable tools to help me continually face all the obstacles that keep me away from love. On page 27 of Living the Practice, Volume 2, there's a section called How Unsafe Happens. This section illustrates, through quoting scriptures and a teaching story, the cycle of building up our personal narratives from our initial caregivers, which then becomes our prison. This passage has helped me reflect on the relationship I have with my mother and father and the relationships that they had with their parents. It helps me to see that I learned this anger. It's not me. It's not such a big deal that I have it. I can choose to keep it or not. I can use anger appropriately or not. And how cool it is to be able to teach my kids to use anger appropriately and not pass on my garbage. I thank Rohini for her teachings and for this book, a companion that I will continually revisit to stay on the path to love.
Thank you, Demetrius.
Yes,
And now
thank you.
that was great.
Mhm.
And now we'll hear from Johannes.
Can you hear me, Aaron?
Yes.
Great. So I'm Johannes. I've been studying with Rohini for more than 10 years. When I met Rohini, I had just turned 20. I was struggling with the loss of my mother, Alexandra, and was looking for something deeper in life. Reading Buddhist scriptures kindled a desire for liberation in me, but all I had was an abstract understanding. When Rohini entered my life, I quickly realized she was the answer. She did not fit my ideas, but I could feel that she had the truth on every level, not as an idea, but as a reality. My awakening occurred in Rohini's teaching room. Rohini put her hand on my forehead, and I experienced a sublime golden energy running from her fingers through my forehead into my heart, where it accumulated. I felt an incredible quiet and joy within. Rohini transmitted the experience of the love of God, a love I hadn't known existed. I committed to learning from Rohini the practice of how to cherish this love and bring it into all my life. I grew so much under Rohini's guidance, but had so much internal work to do. In 2019, I went completely off the rails. Writing a talk on empathy for a conference, I struck out on my own, not consulting any of my mentors. Worse, I inwardly cut out Rohini, forgetting the deep humanity and love for all that I had come to know around her. So there I stood in front of a conference, talking gibberish about empathy. I believed I was savvy and doing good. I really was haughty, empty, and isolated, and hurting myself and others. Rohini devoted a whole class to reveal where I was. In my lower mind, I was furious about being questioned, and sure, Rohini was wrong. Yet on a deeper level, I trusted her. I saw my choice, either double down or surrender to Rohini. I surrendered. As I did this, I came to realize what a fool I was, which was painful but freeing. As Rohini writes in her new book, the first battle for the warrior of love is to willingly surrender to obeying the guru rather than resist grace by defending the false identity that is really walling off the warrior from life and love. As I opened up to grace, my life began unfolding in amazing ways. I ended up being accepted and completing a PhD in philosophy at the University of Cambridge. While these years also brought brutal inner and outer battles, the practice and Rohini helped me navigate them from the love underneath all situations. On page 297 of this volume, Rohini addresses the empathetic chair event with a poem that shares the care of the self of all and parodies my baloney of empathy. To me, it speaks to the greatness we can attain by letting go of our ego. Living the practice frees me to live in the love that undergirds this book and to laugh with Rohini at the empathetic chair.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Johannes.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll hear from Doug. It's good to see you here, Doug.
Thank you, Aaron. Good to see you. My name is Doug Oppenheimer, and I've been a student of Rohini's for over 25 years. Recently, I was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer, and the first person I called was Rohini, knowing that she had battled and beaten cancer twice herself. Since that moment, Rohini has been right beside me, helping me navigate the complex process of dealing with this terrible disease and modeling for me the true path to being a warrior of love. From communicating with my doctors to making sure that I'm doing everything under my power to live, Rohini has taught me that every moment and every situation is an opportunity to grow and to love both myself and others. As I read her new book and reflected on my life over the past 30 years or so, it struck me that there's not a moment where I haven't felt Rohini's teachings and love right beside me. All the major events and roles I took on in those years were both inspired and supported by her. From teaching to coaching soccer to even creating my own software company, these moments in my life have proven to be the most fulfilling and life-changing. For example, I remember her sitting with me when I first moved to Maryland with no job and her asking me, "So what do you want to do now besides nothing?" Nothing was my first answer, and I could hear it internally. We went on to discuss my history, and after patiently listening, she suggested that I teach at a local private school since my life kept gravitating back towards helping kids and playing the sport of soccer. With teaching, I could also coach. Her working with me did not stop there, though, because over the next 25 years or so, she helped me with countless interviews, lesson plans, student situations, and soccer practices. She even inspired and pushed me to attend graduate school. Again, she was not only guiding me on my path, helping me grow and evolve as a human being, but she was showing me how a teacher consistently models true love and support for their student. Those years were filled with such joy and perhaps the most rewarding ones of my life. I can honestly say that I grew and learned more in those years than the rest of my life put together. Like she says in the book, she uses these opportunities to help people grow as a human being, but more importantly, help them walk down their own path as a warrior of love. In my experience, this path starts out not as an idea, but a truth. It requires honesty and reflection and is not easy. I'm just a beginner, and so as I walk down my own path, this book is not only a gift, but it's also a tool through which to help me to continue to discern between what is real and what is not real in this life, and to help me find and fight for love. It is fitting that Rohini never stops giving of herself and continues to fight for what is most important in all of us. With this book, Rohini continues to teach, guide, and model love. Her creative blend of art, poetry, and commentary is not only emphasizing her teachings, but also giving the book a unique rhythm and joy. From the outset, Rohini has walked this path of love over and over in my life, and I've watched her do it and many others.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And we're all here for you as you continue to walk your path.
Yes.
So now we'll hear from Mandev.
Hi. I met Rohini in January 2020. At the time, I was terribly unhappy. I often felt overwhelmed and experienced a lot of emotional pain in my chest. I tried lots of therapies and medication, but nothing had worked. I wanted Rohini to take my pain away so that I could enjoy life the way I saw others doing. I was not interested in God or in becoming spiritual. Today, I am so grateful that Rohini knew what I really wanted. She has given me something far greater than removing my pain. She has given me something I did not know existed. She has gifted me the tools to heal myself and to truly experience living. She has given me the experience of real love. I will summarize just two of Rohini's teachings that have contributed to this experience and transformation. First, distinguishing my real self from my system. And second, applying the steps of spiritual practice. In Living the Practice, Volume 1, Rohini describes the love machine. We all recreate our childhood vibrations, which we call love. My exemplar of love was a depressed mother. My childhood vibration was one of emotional distance and abandonment. I therefore continually create abandonment and emotional distance as an adult. Rohini's teaching helped me realize I hate this vibration on an intellectual level, but emotionally I crave it because it is how I got attention as a child. I also learned that the love machine is just a part of my system. It is not who I am underneath. This gave me the realization that I can let it go. I can make a different choice and experience real love rather than pain. It is the practice itself that has allowed me to dissolve the pain and disentangle my system from my real self. In Living the Practice, Volume 1, Rohini describes the 3 steps of spiritual practice. First, be with our experience. Second, let whatever comes up come up. And third, function appropriately on the physical plane. For a while, I felt like I was doing the practice. However, the pain was not shifting. With Rohini's guidance, I finally recognized I was so focused on the first 2 steps, but I was not functioning appropriately at all. I was often sat in my house on my own, avoiding people and neglecting my jobs. When I finally functioned appropriately and applied all 3 steps together, the pain started to dissolve. That's when I started to live the practice. A couple of years ago, Rohini told me it takes strength to feel pain. That encouraged me to honor and feel my pain. It made me want to be a warrior of love as Rohini is. As I continue healing and experiencing more love in my life, I am grateful for and look forward to reading Volume 2 of Living the Practice, The Warrior of Love.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manda. And now we have Julie.
Hi, my name's Julie Tucker. I've been studying with Rohini for 25 years, thankfully. Living the Practice Volume 2, The Warrior of Love, changed my life. I had a silly belief system that ran me. I had chosen to feel like I was the worst person in the world. When I did this, I would approach any situation thinking I would be wrong about it. I couldn't see that I was attached to the vibration of being the worst person in the world. Since I liked this vibration, I tended to do things that reinforced it. I would view others as the best people in the world. I made mistakes. I also didn't see my own achievements. I created an unequal playing field where I was a very small player. Living the Practice Volume 2, The Warrior of Love explains in easy to understand text that this is what the small self does. It limits us with false ideas, and that there is a true self that we can get to by working to dismantle these ideas that separate us. It helped me to see that my idea was not true, and further, it gave me instruction and tools to dissolve it so that I can live from love. I can see that my idea of myself was destructive. I had to drop it if I wanted to live from love. How do you do this? I typically pick a section to read at a time. For example, this weekend, my kids and I were working on how to play on a team and to be completely alive, present, and part of that team. To do this, we read Speak the Truth and Don't Get Angry, Part 1 and 2, which talks about knowing yourself and what you bring to the table, working to dissolve your attachments so you can see clearly and act appropriately. And we then talked about what we read and identified our own wrong ideas. We could then drop these using tools and techniques that Warrior of Love describes so that we could truly play. I'm interested in going to God. The Warrior of Love shows me that is how that is possible. It helps me to get there with text that is clear and that I can turn to again and again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Next up, we'll have Tammy.
Thank you. I'm Tammy, and I first met Rohini in 2013. I had just dropped out of college and was completely lost and directionless. Ironically, Rohini had just written the essay, The False Idol of Self-Esteem, which is on page 76 of The Warrior of Love. This passage explains the importance of discipline and values and the detriment of promoting good self-esteem over character development. She gave me a copy of this essay as well as the fourchotomy within it: strong-willed, weak-willed, brainwashed, willful, disciplined, obedient. Rohini told me that day that I had no idea who I was and that I was the spoiled brat described in the blog. She was right. Rohini also showed me the practice that she teaches, how to put my attention in my heart. Despite being told that I was strong-willed and undisciplined, I left that day feeling love and knowing that it exists for the first time in my life. This is what Rohini is constantly doing, and this is what she is sharing in The Warrior of Love. In every passage, poem, and painting, if we are willing, our wrong understanding and identification is revealed, and within that, she brings us to love. For me, that December 2013 was the first of thousands of moments. The following winter, Rohini painted my interior portrait. It looks just like the center of a rose. I loved the painting, but it wasn't until 5 years later that it became clear why Rohini saw a flower within me. In 2019, when I was searching for something that interested me, Rohini revealed to me my love of flowers. Since then, I've been following her clues to learn how to learn, and learn how to love. I took classes and worked part-time apprenticing at a flower shop. I started studying ikebana, Japanese flower arranging, and eventually began working full-time at my dream job in the flower shop. Through flowers, I have learned so much and know there is so much more to learn. I'm learning the importance of will and care. I'm learning discipline and hard work. As Rohini described in The False Idol of Self-Esteem, I found that disciplining my will has opened a whole new world. It has blossomed inside of me a true desire to know what God wants of me and to work to live that. My life has value and meaning because of Rohini and the practice she teaches. For the past decade that I've studied with her, Rohini has always showed me the truth. Through hardships and great times, Rohini has always been right there and has never abandoned me. She brings me closer to God and love and guides me to truly live my life. This is what she shares in living the practice, and she speaks to each of us in every word and brushstroke. One of my favorite things to do with Rohini's books is to open to a random page. It is always fitting for whatever I may be going through or working on. I'm so grateful to Rohini for the practice she teaches and shares in living the practice, the warrior of love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. And now we'll hear from Ian, who is also Rohini's son, which makes him my brother.
A distinct honor and pleasure, Aaron. I'm so delighted to be here, and I have to say at the outset, it is my heartfelt joy to get to say congratulations, Mom. I consider the greatest fortune in my life to be your son. And so being Rohini's son has been tremendously beneficial in terms of being able to not only learn how to live the practice, but to live living the practice. As I got to be with her through the process of writing in such an exacting manner as to make sure that every word meant what it needed to mean. And the language in this book is so infused with the love that she exudes that it is hard to read it without having to pause and just take in over and over again all the layers of depth that it intentionally has. So not only am I Rohini's son, I also have been very fortunate to have her as my teacher and guru, but also my colleague. And we work in international security. We deal with all kinds of hostile environments of real life or death situations on a regular basis. And so in reflecting on what to say this evening, I really started looking at the nature of the warrior. And when I thought about what warrior meant to me and what I thought was conveyed through the book, three words came to mind: competence, consistency, and courage. Competence is a necessary skill for or necessary trait really for a good warrior. You cannot be insufficient or you get killed. So Rohini has been throughout my life so exacting in making sure that everyone around her lives up to the competence that they are capable of to 100%, no matter what that 100% is. And I so appreciate that, because I have found throughout my life that if I fail to not do my best, but to be as competent as I could, I feel like I've left something that I would regret. And so she has made sure that I pursued competence at every turn, and she does that for everyone around her. But competence also requires consistency. And if you read all of her books, one of the consistent themes is consistency. You cannot interrupt the practice. or you lose it. And if you are looking at a warrior, a moment, a lapse of judgment, of consciousness, of attentiveness could be the end. And so part of being a warrior is to be consistent at all times. Warriors are not just warriors when they are on the battlefield. They are warriors through and through. And that lesson, I think, is very important for being seamless in our lives with pursuing practice and pursuing the depth of the love that is at the heart of that practice. And finally, courage. Everyone has spoken so far about facing challenges, facing themselves, facing what it is that holds them back from being fully themselves. And that takes courage. And having Rohini as a not only guide, but support, companion, and champion is part of what I have felt so fortunate to have throughout my life, because she helps us all find the courage to actually face that difficulty. So if you read the books and read them over and over again, yes, you will see all three of these themes come through. But there's a fourth word that abides, and that is love. And in just reflecting on what it is that I have gleaned from the experience of being Rohini's son, Rohini's student, and Rohini's sidekick, is that I think love is both the means by which she fights and the cause for which she fights. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. And now I'd like to say a few words. Also, as your son and your student, I know how much work went into writing this book, how carefully you chose every word, and it's great to see it and physically hold a copy. It's a beautiful object in and of itself, and I know how much work went into it, and it really shows in every word on every page. So congratulations. For me as a linguist, one of the things that I look at this book is it's like a grammar of practice, and a grammar is the most valuable tool. So when I learn a new language, I love to get the rules of that language, and I like the rules in and of themselves, but in order to apply them, I need to see a few different examples of those rules in action and how the variations of those rules in the different situations and circumstances where those rules could be applied, how they actually play out. And I feel like that's what this book does with internal or spiritual practice, whatever you want to call it, because it's so detailed and nuanced and explores so many different case studies that you actually don't just get sort of a general, this is what you should do, or this is, good practice in general, but here's how that plays out. Here's how that works. Here's what that looks like in reality, in life. And that then gives me the opportunity to apply it in my own life. And I know that's a choice then that I have to consciously and actively make, not just once, but all the time and continually. But that choice is there. It's not abstract because it is laid out so clearly. And that's one of the things that I love about not just this book, but the previous volume as well. So thank you. Thank you for teaching me. Thank you for being there for me. And thank you for writing this book.
Thank you.
So now I have the distinct pleasure as the audiobook narrator for both of these volumes. I'm going to read a short passage from Living the Practice, Volume 2. This is Baba's work on page 215. Baba's work. One of the greatest misconceptions about spiritual practice is that it is selfish. Unfortunately, the world is full of pseudo-spiritual paths that really are nothing but self-indulgence. Real practice is the opposite. When we actually do it, the world changes on a deep and subtle level. It's hard to fathom this. Few people want to grasp that by turning inward and giving up our hate, we change the world. The truth is, these people would rather have spiritual practice be something they do for themselves alone, as shrunken selves. When confronted with the reality that the stakes are higher than that practicing carries the added weight of responsibility to the world, they don't want to take on that accountability. But we are all accountable in this way, whether we like it or not, and whether we practice or not. God enlivens the world. That means God enlivens all vibrations, including the most prevalent vibration of the moment. In Indic traditions, there are 3 foundational vibrations, which combine like the primary colors to make up the manifested universe. Tamas, that is inertia, ignorance, and darkness. Rajas, activity, desire, and pain. And Sattva, calm, clarity, and brightness. Right now, the world is steeped in tamas, in ignorance, complacency, and destructiveness. As tamas moves toward rajas, our actions are colored with this darkness, which manifests as hate. How does that affect each of us? Tamas and rajas will influence us based on the makeup of our shrunken selves and how detached we are from them. The more we are detached, the more we move toward sattva, wisdom, discernment, and peace. And so we are able to see tamas for what it is and respond appropriately. Whether we are active or complacent in our hate, and therefore passive in our hate, we are sharing in the vibration of darkness and ignorance. We are contributing to the evil in the world. The only way out of evil is to shine a light of sattva on it. Then, with the conscious awareness of our agency, we work to still by facing and being with this vibration of darkness. Each of us needs to still for all of us. This is true because from the standpoint of the Absolute, each of us actually is all of us. We are the self of all. In that sense, every person exists simultaneously as a manifested being and as the unmanifest. We exist as manifested beings in relative reality. Here, we each appear as separate entities existing in time, living and dying and performing actions both good and evil. But in reality, we are the Absolute, which is pure love. The Absolute gives rise to the manifest, just as Christ said that everything, both good and evil, comes out of the heart. All manifestation comes out of the Absolute. God is all. From the standpoint of absolute reality, there is no good or evil. Everything is God. In relative reality, though, we enact different parts in the cosmic play. Some of us will do mostly good, and some of us will do mostly evil. We are all in the great game, and we are all accountable for what we do as characters. So now we're going to transition a little bit to doing a kind of exercise. You would have heard, if you're watching this and you're unfamiliar with this work, Tammy mentioned a fricotomy, which is one of the main tools that Rohini uses to expose and destroy our ignorance. And so she's going to demonstrate now how this tool can be used in practice.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm going to do this with Kara. And we're going to do the fricotomy. Kill what you love, nurture what we love, non-attached and attached. Okay, as practitioners, it's all about action and learning and doing. So, okay, Kara, do you kill what you love?
Yes, I do.
Is that okay with you?
Yes. No, it's not. Surprising. No.
Okay, do you nurture what you love?
No.
Is that okay with you?
No, it's not okay.
Are you non-attached?
No. Yeah.
It was a yes.
It
Yes.
was a yes that time.
Okay. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Yes. Are you attached?
No. Yes, I'm attached.
Is that okay with you?
Yes, it's okay.
Do you kill what you love?
Yes.
Is that okay with you?
No. Yes, it's okay.
Do you nurture what you love?
No. Yes, I do. Wow. Yes, I do.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it's okay.
Are you non-attached?
Yes. No.
Is that okay with you?
No.
Are you attached?
Yes.
Is that okay with you?
It's totally okay. Yes.
Okay, let's do it one more time.
Okay, thank you.
Do you kill what you love?
Yes, I do.
Is that okay with you?
It's okay.
Do you nurture what you love?
Yeah.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Are you non-attached?
Yes, I'm not attached.
Is that okay with you?
It's okay.
It's okay in this
In
tiny
this
moment. In
moment.
this moment. Are you attached?
Yes. No.
No. Is that okay with you?
No. Yes, it's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the whole point is to get 8 out of 8 yeses. And then we get free of all 4 components. And it's not once, but it's 8 yeses over a long period of time, at least 10 out of 10 times on a regular basis. And it's a fun game because when we're honest with ourselves and we answer honestly, we can be surprised. And it's freeing to be actually just honest. It's so free. So, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So now I'm going to read a poem. And this poem is on page 128 of Volume 2, Warrior of Love. And it's called At the Table. Bring to the table good food, good company, good cheer. Care cares for all. No one is left without. Whether flat or round, the table is full, nurtured by God. No pretense, lies, hate. See what's on the table. Know what you brought. Clean yourself to see the real table. Our narratives starve us, leave us hungry for truth. Though full, we can't partake. We fed so long on empty, satisfied, not an option. Retreat before returning to the table. Wash thyself to see what we have missed. That's for all of us. And with that, I'd like for us to meditate for a few minutes. And it's just, we're going to let go, to turn in, out of our heads and into our hearts. Let's share together. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. To close us out now, David is going to speak.
I'm Rohini's husband and also her student, and of all the gifts that she shared with me, one of the most important and the most inexhaustible is that I've been able to literally sit next to her while she, from a place of deep inwardness and responsibility, crafted every word of every one of her books, including this latest one. And I know, having seen the love go into them and the depth go into them that are so evident there on the page whenever we open the book. I'm going to close with a passage from The Warrior of Love that sort of brings us full circle, in a way, back to her opening words today. While it's impossible to encapsulate the richness of the entire book, this essay, Guarding the Heart, which you can find on page 260, is in a way a good start. And because it's a good start, it's a good place to conclude this event. So, guarding the heart. Guarding the door was the beginning. It led me to guarding the heart. Baba knew what I wanted, so he used my worldly skills. They turned out to be the perfect metaphor for the practice I was looking for. Throughout my life, I had always felt directed to the next level. Dance led me into Tai Chi Chuan, and from there, Baba came to take the task of teaching me. As I moved forward, certain aspects of the previous practice were dropped, and something new in a deeper sense was added. In the end, Baba had me let go of all the outer activities and rest in the heart. Free fall became a constant rest. Guarding the heart means being with our experience at every moment, letting whatever comes up come up, and functioning appropriately on the physical plane. When I first went to Baba, I had been a successful Tai Chi Chuan teacher in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The school I had started had over 100 students. Martial arts shaped how I approached life. Earning a degree in acupuncture and working in a clinic, studying Mandarin Chinese, and practicing calligraphy were part of my immersion. My aesthetic naturally leaned toward a Zen spareness, and my clothes were informed by my practicing Tai Chi Chuan several hours a day. During the winter of 1975, I was a guard on the rooftops or patrolling the streets around the Oakland ashram. At the DeVille in upstate New York, I volunteered to be at the gate through which Baba walked to and from the evening program. I willingly missed the program in order to have that one passing minute with Baba. While everyone was in the program, I worked to remain alert, guarding the gate. There was never a problem, nor was there a possibility of a problem. This was a chance for me to practice. This was Baba beginning to teach me what I had come for. He was teaching me vigilance and one-pointedness without the Tai Chi form, acting in and adapting to any given situation. From there, he was going to move me inward. This foundational discipline of one-pointed vigilance continued like a thread running through all my subsequent roles around Baba. Whether serving as head of security in Ganeshpuri, standing attentively as Baba's gatekeeper in the courtyard or by his back stair, working as his appointment secretary during his world tour, or staying all day on Baba's porch in Delhi rather than go sightseeing with other ashramites, I stayed awake and stood guard at all times, no matter what was happening. Usually it was nothing, but good warriors do not wish for battle. They remain still and always ready. Then they can adapt easily and quickly, rather than stick rigidly to a plan. Baba was my focus. Even when I worked in the ashram library in Ganeshpuri, Baba was my focus.
I constantly practiced what he had taught me internally. Everything external provides an opportunity for the practice, because as is the external, so is the internal. Starting with one-pointedness on the outside, the perceived shifts ever inward. The internal then informs the external. Ultimately, there is only the perceiver, and all else is the perceived. Baba was always moving me to guard deeper and deeper inward. So be with your experience at every moment. Let whatever comes up come up, and function appropriately on the physical plane. With sustained, one-pointed practice, the attention reaches the door to the heart. At that point, the vigilance is thoroughly instilled, having developed from the more superficial practice. The guarding of the heart forces us to be appropriate always, no matter what the outside may say. Hence Christ saying that what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart. Or Saint Simeon affirming that we should renounce all other spiritual work and concentrate wholly on this one doing, that is, on guarding the heart. Even Ho Yanqi, the Song Dynasty commentator on Sun Tzu's The Art of War, says, so unless your heart is wide open and your mind is orderly, you cannot be expected to be able to adapt responsively without limit, dealing with events unerringly. We are all to guard the heart and then rest in the heart. Whether we play the role of householders, monks, or anyone else, we are all soldiers. We must be vigilant. Our relating to the world must be done from the source, which is the heart and not the head.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. And now that brings this event to a close. I'd just like to say thank you to all of you here tonight who have participated and shared. Thank you so much for taking the time to prepare something to say, for being here, for saying it. And thank you, Rohini, Mom, for writing this book. Congratulations. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity to record the audiobook version of it. It's truly an honor, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm so glad that, it's there in multiple forms. So,
Before we go, I'd like
Yep.
to say a quick something.
Absolutely.
I want to thank everyone who came. I want to thank everyone who participated here. And I want to tell you all that I love you with all my heart. I love you. Thank you.
I love you too. And now for anyone who's watching this, go buy the book.